Welcome back to the B block of Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Alaina Pinto. The state of Illinois continues to emerge as a major player in the Midwest adult use legalization market, with new dispensaries opening every week. Now, there is a class action suit in that state claiming that some state licensed dispensaries are mislabeling infused products in order to exceed the state limit for THC. Mark Allen is the Chicago clone guy who finds himself as cold as ice and as wet as a noodle. Here's his report from Illinois, right in the middle of a frozen lake.
What's up, everybody? This is Mark Allen, the Chicago clone guy, reporting from Illinois. This is Cannabis Coast to Coast News, reporting from the backwaters of the Mississippi River, ice fishing for bull sharks. While I'm sitting on a bucket in the rain. It's kind of nasty out here, but we got some good ice. Today's report is about a new dispensary that opened up in northern Illinois in the Chain of Lakes area, is what we call it in Fox Lake. It's called the Smokehouse. The reason why I'm talking about a dispo, there's dispos everywhere, is because this dispo is a little different. You can actually take your boat to this dispo, which I thought was pretty cool. As an avid outdoorsman, ice fisherman, I prefer not to be on the ice, but it's better than nothing. But the Smokehouse in the Chain of Lakes, Fox Lake, Illinois, you can actually take your boat to now. They have 16 boat slips for pretty much anybody that is 21 and over. Residents can go, non-residents can go. So if you're people that are visiting, the Chain of Lakes is actually a good time to go visit, and then you can actually go get your buds there. So all you need to be is 21. You can get about 15 grams of weed. That's also known to me as about 15 joints for you out-of-staters. But that's known as the Smokehouse Dispo in Fox Lake. I am Mark Allen, the Chicago clone guy, checking out from Illinois for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Earlier in the show, we told you about the closing of an Oregon dispensary called the Portland Cannabis Market. Marianne Corsage explained that dispensary had been a target of half dozen robberies during its 7-year existence. Violence at dispensaries continues to be a major issue in the industry, considering the regulations on a federally illegal substance forces cash transactions in stores. Meanwhile, the lawmakers in Washington, D.C. continue to stonewall the industry from creating a safer banking alternative. Once again, in California, there's another violent story at a dispensary, as Dina Nagib has the sad details in her California Cannabis Report.
Hello, I'm Dina Nagib, Principal Consultant at Grass Goddess Consulting, here to give you the latest news in California for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Last Monday evening, Martin Olive, owner of the Vapor Room in San Francisco, was shot 6 times in an unprovoked attack while smoking outside the dispensary. After the attack, the gunman hid in an apartment building next door, where he was later shot and killed by police. Martin has been a longtime cannabis advocate and a pillar of the cannabis community. Many from the community rallied to support Martin, with social media flooded with stories of all that Martin has done for cannabis. A GoFundMe has already raised over $100,000 after less than a week from the incident. Though Martin's injuries are serious, he is expected to make a full recovery. In other news, longtime cannabis breeder David Watson, aka Sam the Skunk Man, died this week. He spent time in both California and Amsterdam working with others to create many unique cultivars, including Haze and Skunk. His impact was vast and was referred to by some as a patriarch of the cannabis industry. Watson requested that his ashes be used for the next cannabis crop, and they will be distributed to California and abroad. That's it for this week. I'm Dina Nagib with Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Here in New England, the great state of Maine has enjoyed their legalization of adult use of cannabis since 2016. That state grandfathered hundreds of caregivers who grew cannabis for existing medical patients, but never really set up a regulations for testing. They are trying to do that right now. But like every issue in the industry, it's not as simple as setting up regulations for testing, since there are hundreds of small craft growers who have been left alone and now face a whole new world that might put them out of business and back into the illicit market. One of the oldest caregivers and advocates for a fair and legal cannabis market is Pete Tranchmontagne, known as Uncle Pete from Uncle Pete's Relief. He is a legend in the state and has always been in the middle of policy changes in the Pine Tree State. PCMTV founder JImmy Young talked with Uncle Pete this week.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another special report from Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I am PCMTV founder JImmy Young, and I'm so happy to be joined by an old friend. And I'm sorry I used the word old, Pete, but you know what? We go back over about a decade now, and I really appreciate you taking the time out because the state of Maine is a very interesting dynamic in the whole world of the adult use, medical, and caregiver of cannabis. And I know you've been in the middle of it now since 2011. Right now, I believe they're trying to regulate the medical side of the cannabis products that are being grown in Maine, and they want to make it similar testing to adult use. Am I accurate in that assessment?
It's pretty much what they sound like they're trying to do. Yes.
Okay.
You want me to comment on that?
No, I'm not going to comment on it. I want somebody who knows what they're talking about to comment on it. Yes.
So yes, we want in the medical program. They've always been like I said, we've been testing most of us anyways. The problem is there's not a standardized test for our understanding. We could be wrong, but I know I'm going to use the name Scotty Olette. He does Smokies Gummies. He runs in his company is Golden Road Extractions, and he does Up to Camp Edibles. That's another company. He sent out a test from because he gets distillate. He buys big jugs because he makes massive batch lots of however they do it, right?
Yep.
Because he wholesales. Because he's like, I need to know if these are right. Because sometimes after they all are finished product, he has to send them out again to make sure it's 10 milligrams or under,
Right.
not over, or 20 milligrams, because he might have palliative care patients. And now this is going to all these stores. He's not warning people or it's got to be, it's a real business.
Right.
So,
And you want regulation and you want standardized testing is really what you'd like to see happen.
So yeah, we want all the labs because he sent out this distillate to 4 different labs, and he got 4 different, 2 passed, 2 failed, and 4 different totally different reads.
And the novelty has worn off by now, and now you're really dealing with real business issues. And like you said, people are coming in from out of state. How would you like to see the control of the licensing happen in your state that would be fair to the people that are already doing it and have been doing it in Maine for a long time?
So that is the most awesome question I think we've ever discussed. Okay, so thank you so much, because this is dear to me. I don't like to be told what to do, and I know you don't either, right? Who does? I don't want to tell all the other caregivers in the state of Maine and or the adult rec people what to do, because they were right. They're here, right? They risk everything.
Yep.
But I really feel that we should just stop any new applications coming into our state, because
freeze applications.
Well, there's only 1.3 million, and then there's what 3.4 million tourism.
Yep.
So let's do the math for that. Let's get ready for interstate and international, and then you increase more. Or it's like, say you owned a store, or we'll use mine. I'm here in my basement. I'm not limiting myself to go to research or adult rec on my property. You can apply for everything because you still have you're still on this license. So I'm not hurting caregivers. I'm certainly opening it up to them to go to adult rec. I think when you have a license, it should be what do you want to do? Because it would just be an extra on your license fee.
While many states have outright banned intoxicating hemp products, others, like Texas, have ignored regulation and allowed over 7,000 stores to sell products out of gas stations, smoke shops, and convenience markets. At the same time, in that state, their legal medical dispensaries struggle for acceptance. Now, there is a movement in Missouri to bring all versions of cannabis under one regulatory body. We welcome back Brandon Jones with the Missouri Cannabis Report.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Jones with B Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. And that's right, they are talking about putting all hemp-derived products underneath one single body here in the state of Missouri. So as you know, under the federal law of 2018's Farm Bill, they're allowing all sorts of different products to be sold in gas stations, hemp shops, and all sorts of different places all over the state. So they're trying to make sure that all these products are safe for everyone to use, because we're finding some products, yes, are marketed towards children. You see weird products like things that are designed for them to look like children's products that they would eat. So I think it's a very important thing that we need to make sure that all of the products are safe, tested, and that we know what they're ingesting, smoking, whatever type of product they're doing, they know what they're getting. So I am all for there being one form of body that makes sure that everything is going to be tested and regulated the right way. But let's make sure that people still have access to the products that they need. Let's not put a big stranglehold and stop access to everyone as soon as this happens. Let's make sure that there's a way that people still have access to the medicine that they need. On a little bit of a layer in Missouri, yes, the Chiefs, we're back for 3 times, and there is consumption lounges parties all over the state. So if you're not aware, you can be joining a membership club and be in a lounge where you can consume your own cannabis. It is BYOC. You cannot consume or purchase any cannabis in any of these lounges, but you can bring your own cannabis, be among friends, have a huge big screen TV and cheer on your Chiefs and not have to worry about driving home drunk or around. Now you have to be able to watch the drunks when you're driving home, but at least you're not going to be intoxicated driving. So there's a safer way to be among friends, watch the games, and still be able to enjoy yourselves and have fun. So while we're looking about the state and regulatory ways, we're still trying to have fun here in Missouri as well. So I am excited to be back to the Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Thanks so much to Alaina and Jimmy. Miss you guys. Grow so excited to be back and bringing the Missouri news to you guys every week.
The state of Kentucky is slowly ramping up its new medical marijuana program. This week, their governor, Andy Beshear, reported that his state has issued medical cards to over 2,200 applicants, and only 51 have been turned down. But those who have been denied to the program do have the right to reapply. One of the issues in Kentucky is related to the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. Right now, you can't have a medical marijuana card that allows you access to their fledgling market if you own a gun. And now their governor would like to see that state ban on owning firearms lifted for medical patients. This is not an exception in Kentucky yet, but in Nevada, people with medical cards are also prohibited from owning or carrying a firearm. At some point, this might change, but right now, as long as cannabis is on Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act, gun ownership is off limits. Let's check in on Nevada and the tribal nations with Tina Tasaka.
I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies, and this is the Nevada and Tribal Nations Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. With the recent cyber attack in cannabis earlier in January impacting Stizzy, nearly 370,000 patrons' data was breached. Every cannabis operator needs to be vigilant about their data and needs to have a plan on protecting that data. Furthermore, back on September 11, 2023, Las Vegas experienced one of the planet's worst cyber attacks on the casino industry, whereby MGM paid a ransom to the tune of $100 million. Why this matters and what does this have to do with cannabis? In tribal nations, there are close to 450 casinos across the U.S., and there are close to 90 dispensaries, consumption lounges, and/or cultivation operations on sovereign land. Tribal nations needs to be just as diligent and watchful to protect and secure their data, and they do. Here comes Tribal Hub, founded in 1999 by Mike Day, tribal leaders, and technology gurus, and it's comprised of technology-minded leaders from tribes and tribal enterprises across the country. They are about to embark on their cybersecurity summit along with their division, Tribal ISAC, Information Sharing and Analysis Center. It will be held at the end of February at the Mississippi Casino and Resort in Miami, Florida. Other regional tribal technology forums will then follow. For more information, you can see their website, www.tribalhub.com. Okay, Golden Knights and NHL fans, NHL players are shifting away from alcohol and partying, instead favoring marijuana and video games for leisure. A recent New York Times survey of over 36 players found that 2/3 used edibles this season. This cultural shift comes as Nevada regulators adopted a rule in October protecting athletes from penalties for legal marijuana use. Go VGK! That's it for the Nevada highlights and Tribal Nations. I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies and Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
That'll do it for the B block of this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News, but we still have more state reports, including checking in with Amy Carter in Michigan and Doug Miller's High on Wall Street report on publicly traded cannabis stocks. Plus, we'll update the launch of cannabis social clubs in Massachusetts. So don't go away. Cannabis Coast to Coast News continues after this break.